Welcome to Builder Buzz by Home Nation, where we bring in builders, developers, and everyday investors to talk about one of America's biggest opportunities, affordable housing. We'll talk about real costs, explosive growth, big mistakes, and tough lessons you won't learn anywhere else. Whether you're building homes, buying land, or just building big ideas, this podcast is for you.
So you're with MilMar Buildings, right? You're in LaPorte, Indiana.
Yes.
Can you just give me an idea, Marvin, what it is you provide? Because I see you do barn dominiums, you do, pole barns. There's some differences there. Looks like you do commercial buildings. Can you just give us a rundown of some of the basics you do?
So we provide barns primarily. That's the gist of it. That's the how we started 2006, 2007, 2008, started building barns. That's what I know. And obviously had no idea that barn homes would become a thing at that time. And so around, I don't know, 2015, 2016, I remember telling my wife, this is kind of becoming a thing. It's becoming cool, right? And so we really didn't advertise for it. Didn't really promote that till maybe early in the 2020s. And then we started going after these barn homes. And our primary focus is still post-frame structures. We build barns, and then even in a barn dominium, the barn crew will come in and erect the barn, and then our turnkey portion of the company will finish out the interior. And then obviously we're getting into a lot of light commercial as well. People want that. We're able to provide more bang for your buck for sure in the light commercial space with post-frame style construction. So
Okay. Can you help for those that are listening that might not be familiar? Post-frame, can you explain that a little bit?
So if you can, the way I tell people is like if you can imagine a fence with a roof on it. There's posts in the ground, and the way we do it, every builder's slightly different. There's posts in the ground every 8 feet. And there's methods you can do to protect that post from rot. It's not an inferior method of construction. Posts in the ground every 8 feet, sitting on a concrete foundation, and then you run horizontal, we call them purlins, some people call them girts, around those posts. And then you can attach your metal siding to that. In some cases, your sub siding and then metal siding on top of that, depending on what kind of product you're installing for siding. And then when you get to the top of the wall, there's heavy beams that run around on the weight-bearing sides, and then you set your roof trusses on that. And that's in a nutshell. That's your framing. That's probably as simplified as I could explain that. Obviously, this type of construction works the best with a rectangle or a square. If you get into a lot of corners and, some of the more unique designs that are out there, you kind of defeat the purpose and you end up spending just as much money as if you went with a conventional type of framing. But that's in a nutshell how these go together.
So you said if you go outside of kind of that rectangle, you defeat the purpose. What's the purpose really? Like, what's the unique difference in what you're providing compared to conventional framing?
So a conventional, it's all in the foundation. So a conventional framing, you excavate for one, which is a huge cost. It's very hard to get a basement under these barn homes. We can do it, but it's kind of self-defeating. So really, in the part of the Midwest where you have flat ground, steep slope, you might as well put a basement in. But if you have a flat piece of ground and you essentially clear the lot and make sure it's elevated 1 or 2 feet above any possible flood area, and then again, you put those posts in the ground every 8 feet, there's your foundation. Your foundation cost is essentially a couple of $1,000s. That's your foundation. So you have no excavation other than clearing the lot, and then you have no foundation cost other than your posts in the ground. And essentially you're building a foundation only underneath the weight-bearing points. And that's really your true cost savings. Beyond that, there's not a lot of cost savings there beyond that, other than when you get into just the fact that it's usually a simple rectangle and those go up quick
Yeah.
within weeks for the exterior structure. And, uh, obviously your metal siding goes on quicker than other components. But if you're getting into some conventional components like unique siding and roofing products, obviously it's kind of self-defeating as far
Yeah.
as cost savings. Now, if you just want the barn look, we can build that for you as well.
So do you know, like, people live in these barn dominiums, right? They're not just for weekend use or evening use or, like a place to play basketball or whatever. People live in these things like actual homes, correct?
Yes. Yep.
And then do you finish out the MEPs, mechanical, electrical, plumbing? Do you do that as well? How much, what, like, let's say 1,500 square feet, you would build it as like a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, or is it just a big open expanse? How
So
comparable is it to this?
it's whatever the individual client desires. What we see a lot of is clients get carried away because they simply don't, like we just quoted one the other day, it was 9,600 square foot, and it's a
Oh, wow.
barn. And what someone did is they took a barn but what they don't understand is to heat and to cool that space and
Yeah.
to live in that space. We've built one with 22-foot ceiling in their living room, and the living room was like 40 feet long and 40 feet wide, and it just
Yeah.
felt huge. And got to be careful with that. And there is a tendency with these clients, they get a barn design, it's like, oh, I want to live in here. And so you just have to be careful for the expense side and then also just the practicality of heating and cooling a space that size. But back to
Yeah.
your question, you could divide that, um, you know, it's what your bedroom, bath, it depends on the individual family as far as that
Yeah.
combination.
I noticed you had on your website, you have that little idea room, I think is what you call it. So that design center
Yes.
where you can click through and pick out, here's the size that I want, here's the doors that I want, just change, add a window here, make it a little longer there. Is that like proprietary, or is that a generalized software that a lot of other companies would have?
No, that's not proprietary. I wish
Mhm.
it was, but it's not. In fact, we don't even gain the SEO from that. That's an attachment to our website
Oh, really?
that's from another company. I don't recall the name of it. It's called
Sure.
Idea Room on us. That might be the name of them. So,
Yeah, yeah. So that, and then customers can go directly to your website and they can design that. Will that show them a running total on what it's going to cost, or do you have to review that to give them a quote?
so that just does the design, and then they send it into quote because of we have a calculator built when we quote these that includes distance, and sometimes we know just by looking at the address of what local jurisdiction it's in how difficult it's going to be to get permits, whether an engineer is going to be required to get permits. There's parts of Indiana where they don't even have a building department or they don't have a
Yeah,
zoning department, and we know that that's going to decrease your costs. And
yeah.
so no, we do not quote. um, you can't generate your own quote. Our quoting team's pretty fast. We can get you a quote turned around in 24 to 48 hours usually. So,
Yeah, it's awesome. So what are you, and that's obviously without viewing the site. So you have some site specific conditions that you must every. It's just like you said, this one's got a steep slope. This one's going to be flat. Maybe this one's got rocks underneath that you're going to have to excavate. So you quote just the building itself. You don't quote the foundation. You don't quote any excavation until you get out there. How's that process work?
so that is a little more location specific. If we get out, we cover all of Ohio, but if you're going to be out close to Pennsylvania, we're going to think long and hard before we quote excavation. It has
Yeah,
to be the right conversation with the right person. But we are a full service general contractor. It's just if someone really wants to cut corners and they've got a friend that does excavating or whatever, it's like, oh, that's good. Use your friend, right? But we don't want to just throw ourselves on everything. Uh, but we are a full service general contractor. We can, there's nothing that we can't do in the construction space.
wow. So you have your own guys for your local jobs, or do you sub out certain parts of it? And then how does that
We do
change
both.
as you, because
We do both.
okay,
We like to keep everybody honest. We have our own hourly guys, and it's just I like good healthy competition. We get the
yeah,
sometimes the subs keep our own guys honest, and sometimes vice versa. When it because
that's
we
good.
like to get good input costs for our clients, and that keeps their prices where they need to be. So,
Yeah, that's really good. I see you do Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, and was like just a little bit of Wisconsin, I think.
southern Wisconsin, yeah, we're adding eastern Iowa here shortly.
Wow, that's awesome. You guys are how many employees?
So right now, in the office, 22, and then in the field, we're somewhere in the low 30s. They fluctuate a little bit in the field, but 22 in the office, 7 or 8 in the field.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So how many
Subs
jobs?
plus subs,
Yeah, plus
good
yeah.
relationships. Our subcon one, two, three of our subcontract crews used to work for me by the hour, and they got that
Oh wow,
entrepreneurial spirit. And I'm like, well, I can help you get set up. So it's just kind of unique that they still work for me on a contract basis, and they used to be my hourly employees. I don't know if that's normal or not, but I love it. So
that's great. No, that's fantastic. If they want to go start their own thing, have at it, and they can still provide great service at a great price. And you know them, you know your subs, because there's a risk you take when you bring subs on and you're starting with them. And sometimes with the jobs that are further away, it's harder to have eyes on it as much as something that's
right,
30 minutes away. And so that's a risk that you take.
right.
So how do you manage those jobs that are so far away?
So we have our structure is a project superintendent. They're
Okay.
usually over no more than um, 3 projects at one time. And what they'll do is they will go out and sign a layout approval with the
Hmm.
client, which includes the height of the floor, and it can be very simple. We'll go with this doorstep of the neighbor's house, even sometimes, and we'll shoot with a laser where to set the height of that floor because
Mm-hmm.
that's a huge one for floodplain. And then they'll set the location of the building, the design of the building, the colors of the building. They'll get all that laid out perfectly. And then they hand that off to a project. It'd be called a job foreman. And then he actually
Okay.
runs the job and communicates with the client. And then underneath that, we would have a crew lead, which leads the crew. Separate job description for him. He's usually a little less skilled. Maybe someone
Hmm.
who's um, less skilled in just soft skills, customer skills, those kind of
Yeah.
things. And then underneath that, we would have installers, and they're just skilled in actually installing the product. And so that's how we manage, and it's just copy and paste across our entire region.
Wow. So run that through. You said project superintendent at the top. Was that right? The first one, and then the next
So
one one
project
more time.
superintendent can run 2 to 3,
Three.
depending on the complexity. A project superintendent can run 2 to 3 projects at one time. A job foreman can run one project
Mhm.
at one time. Underneath the
Mm,
job
okay.
foreman, we have a separate job description for a crew lead. And then underneath the crew lead, we would have, depending on the size and scope of the project, up to 5 or 6, but usually 3 or 4 installers installing
Okay.
product. And it gets more in depth than that as far as in the office. We have production manager for
Yeah.
commercial, production manager for our homes division, and then a production manager for our barns division. And then we have an overall. It's also called a production manager. Has a
Hmm.
slightly different name and job title, but for
Hmm.
production over all 3 of those divisions.
So you have a lot of support in the office.
We're probably a little bit top heavy right now because we're gearing up for quite a bit of expansion. Just looking at the
Yeah.
numbers, we're not making the money that we used to, just because we're
Mm.
gearing up for a pretty healthy expansion. So
So how do you? So yeah. Could you go into that a little bit? How do you prepare for that sort of expansion? As project superintendent, having 2 to 3 jobs at a time over what sort of expanse? Do you hire more of those people, or do you focus on where you're at and get more foremans so that you can have them running more jobs, or do you hire more support staff? How do you do that?
So the way we looked at it is we said, okay, the demand is there, and every company is unique. I don't know that ours is perfect, but in our situation here in early 2025, we looked at it and we said, okay, the demand is there, and what things have to be true to one, go deeper in the markets we currently are in, or to expand into new markets. And both, we're trying to do both at one time. And we just asked ourselves what things need to be true for us in order to capture that. And then
Mhm.
we determined that in our situation, we're healthy on the installer side, we're healthy on the project superintendent side. But where we're not so healthy, what we thought that we needed to add is job foreman. And so we are currently had a couple of interviews a week right now with job foreman, just adding. And
Wow.
they seem to be quite hard to find. Somebody that with the soft skills to be able to deal with a client, and then also
Mhm.
have that blue collar, take pride in their work, take pride in their
Yeah.
training, and then to just
Yeah.
consider that career. And so that's what we need. As far as support staff in the office, we do need a little bit, but we've been built. You only for a company our size, we feel that we only need one HR person. We only need one bookkeeper. We only need one accountant. Just because you increase in size, we don't see those costs increasing much into the future.
Yeah.
But in the field right now,
Yeah.
job foreman, we'll take them and we'll train
Mhm.
them. We'll bring them from other industries and we'll train them. So
Yeah, that's how long does it take to train a job foreman? That can be a ton of effort to, and you got to make sure you got the right person who's going to stick with you after all that training. It's just like a ton of
it's
legwork to get them
expensive.
up and running. Yeah.
It's expensive. As far as time, we made I wrote a short book on how our buildings go together, standardizing our processes. And then I have a Hispanic gentleman who's worked for me for 14 years. He's actually one of the ones that
Dang.
went out on his own, and his wife wanted him to become a subcontractor. And so he
Uh-huh.
did. And I actually pay him to train, and it's expensive because he has to put up with
Really?
that. He wants to get his building built. He has to stand around, tell people, um,
Yeah.
how to get things done and get them done correctly, and then they both sign off on the book that it's trained. But I pay him to
Mhm.
do it. I pay him thousands of dollars to train an individual. So when
Yeah.
we make a commitment to hire somebody, we're saying we believe in you, and we're going to do it. We're going to buy you a truck. We're going to buy you tools.
Yeah.
It's over $100,000 worth of tools,
Yeah.
um, and to put somebody in a truck like that, and then to train them, and really we don't see a return on that investment for a long time. But we believe that's the direction we need to go, and we're willing to train people from other industries. Helps if they have a construction background for sure, but the right person can
Yeah.
overcome that. So
Yeah, no, that's for sure. So do those foremans that you bring on, they understand the level of commitment that you're putting into them?
yes, by the end of the interview, they do, and it's a partnership. And I'm very proud of the fact that we have people that work here, and we have a wall that we're actually putting it together now, a 10-year wall.
Mhm.
Anyone who's worked for the company for over 10 years, just their photo and whatnot, just kind of honor
Yeah,
that. And we're not a perfect place to work, but that's just cool. Somebody gives you 10 years
that
of their
is.
life, 14 years of their life, 18 years of their life. That's like they spend more time here
Yeah.
than they do that with their family sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Uh,
Yeah. That's fantastic. You'd have to, yeah, you have a really strong company culture, to have that sort of retention.
that's something that we're a Christian company, and I know everybody says that, but like I
Yeah.
tell people, I want to be held to that standard. If our clients see something, if our associates see something that they don't, it's like, I thought you
Yeah.
said you were a Christian company. We welcome that, and
Yeah.
we don't. We shoot sacred cows. I'm
Yeah.
the owner of the company. If I have a bad idea and it doesn't work, we take it out behind the barn, shoot it
Yeah.
right in the head, and get another idea, right? And
That's
so
good.
that's how we roll. And
Yeah.
I believe that's contributed greatly to just check your ego at the door. We're building something here together,
Yes.
and I think that there's a lot of people that have bought into that. Now there's frustrations.
Yeah.
We get mad at each other and we go at it, and it's to a certain extent it's another day at work, But right now, we have almost no turnover. We fire people, and occasionally people
Yeah.
will. I had a job foreman call me last week, and he's like, "Man, I don't know how to say this." He's worked for me for many years. He got an
Mm.
offer 2 miles from his house,
Yeah.
and they wanted to pay him more money and better hours. And I'm like, "Look, I hate to see you go, but I want that for
Yeah.
you too." And I meant that, So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe he'll come back. So
Yeah.
so that's how we like to treat people. So
That's really good, man. That's fantastic. If your foreman can call you and it's like he doesn't want to go, but that's a beautiful offer for him. That's great. So,
right,
strong company values, strong identity. It sounds like your employees would be able to repeat a lot of what you said as well. Sounds like they understand that
yeah, we
and
like
communicate it.
to. They We're kind of steeped in that. You associate with each other. Once you get to beyond a certain size of
Mm.
company, you have to because you have to get everybody marching in the same direction.
Yeah.
Um, you cannot have the musical term dissonance. You can't have one
Mhm.
guy in the choir singing out of tune. It's like,
Yeah.
if you disagree with me, that's awesome. I'm glad you have your own mind and you can think. Uh, that's awesome. But I own the company and I'm
Yeah.
responsible if the wheels come. I'm responsible if the
Yeah.
wheels come off of
True.
this thing. And as
Yeah.
long as you're on my clock, we're going to do things my way. And some people don't like that, but that's what they're buying into
Yeah.
when they join us. So,
Yeah, for sure. So as the company grew, right, when did you start to feel that kind of shift or that tear maybe where it's like, hey, we got to focus on our company culture? Because when you're working with 3 4 5 10 people and they're with you all day sort of thing, they're right next to you, just naturally they're picking up on that culture. But as you start to expand 20 30 plus people, I find you kind of lose that a bit. So how is that when you started to feel it, and did you make intentional strides to bring people together with the identity and the vision of the
yeah, you're
company?
100, yeah, you're 100% right. That's when um, we saw it. We saw it about a year ago, maybe 18 months ago, where it was, and I struggled with it because I would hire someone to manage a division, and then I would actually, it sounds silly now, and I would never repeat these words, but I remember saying to people, I don't agree with what they're doing, but that's not my
Hmm.
job. And if I could go back and change that, I would, first of all,
Yeah.
publicly say nothing, haul that person into my office and say, look, uh,
Yeah.
it's going to be my way. And
Yeah.
you're welcome to your own ideas. I'm glad you're a smart person, but we have to do it one way across the board. And
Yeah.
I was the bottleneck there, and there's serious consequences that come from that. You can uh,
Hmm.
people leaving, trades quitting, arguments, like
Yeah.
it's just, and it's not fair to your employees. Everyone needs to be on the same page. And it's simple as, a customer calls in, wants a quote on a building, and the estimator may call the president of that division and say, "Do we want to quote this?" And he may be of a cautious nature and say no.
Yeah.
And as the owner of the company, well, no, I paid for that lead. We're going after it. We're
Exactly.
going to
Yeah.
chase it. I know the
Mhm.
area, and then it's just it ended up really hurting us last year, and we got through it.
Mm.
It was painful, but yeah, everybody needs to be rowing. If you can get 8 or 10 guys on a boat and they're all rowing as hard as they can in the right direction, I mean, you can get a lot done.
Yeah, you can. There's some of that like agency cost where they're not going to do it as good as you. They're not going to have the vision of you. So there is you have to allocate for a little bit of that, but
Yes.
there does come a point where it's like, no, no, no. We bought this lead. We paid for this lead. We are going to quote this job. I don't care that it's not this perfect picture, perfect cookie cutter job that you want. We're going to quote this.
Right,
Yeah.
100%. It's very tough when I, as the owner, if have relationships established with people for over a decade, and you watch them like, oh, well, this isn't the MilMar I know, and be like, well, I guess
Hmm.
I just can't. be a supplier for you anymore. I can't be of service to you anymore.
Hmm.
And you can't have that. And it sounds a little bit narcissistic and whatnot, but as the CEO, we have to have that
Yeah.
permeate. Now, obviously, I tell people all the time, if I'm asking you to do anything immoral or illegal, please walk away. But as far as
Yeah.
just how we do things, I'm sorry, I'm putting my stamp on it. That's the way we're gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Systemize and process everything. So
I don't blame you at all. That's fantastic. Definitely. You're running the company. You got it to where it is now. Didn't happen accidentally. It took a lot of effort
right.
to get it to where it is. When did you form? When did you start doing this? In 2006,
So in
did you say?
2006, fall of 2006, I started, and I was obviously doing homes, barns. I've done log homes. I crawled under houses with dead cats and old cans and jacked up houses and just crazy stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I've done it
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
We just didn't have the customer base to specialize. And then I've built hotels, framed houses, just anything you can name. Roofing. We used to roof Holiday Inns. They paid me $4,800 to go 3 hours out of town and roof an entire Holiday Inn, just the labor. I thought I was doing great.
Yeah.
And so now that
Yeah.
would be money loser, right?
Yeah.
And so we did all that, but we really saw some traction early, right after 2009, 2010. It got to the point where we had enough strictly post frame. They were like, okay, we need to start advertising. We need to start slowly dropping other forms of work. And it
Yeah, I
wasn't
see.
until maybe 2 or 3 years ago where we said, nah, maybe an old friend or something like, I got this a building they wanted wood framing done for, and I just say, no, I can't anymore. I would love to, but we're strictly
Yeah,
post frame now. So
that's great. That's fantastic. So when you simplify that product offering and you just really hone it on that and focus on it, makes a big difference.
yes, you can systemize, get processes in place, and I mean, you're not wasting time teaching something new every month. And there's guys
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
enjoy that. If you want to do trim 1 month and then the next month you want to do something different, that's fine. That's fine. That's great. But we're a little more boring than that. We built barns. So,
No, it works, man. And for the customers that want it, that's exactly what they're looking for. Straightforward. Here's what we're gonna do. Here's what the price is gonna be. It's fantastic, man. I got a lot of questions, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just a couple of questions about the website. And it's really fantastic website. It looks awesome. It's easy to use. It makes sense. The design is very well done. I can tell that there's a lot of intentional effort put into the website. Do most of your customers come through the website? They come through online advertising, or is it word of mouth? How do you generate that traffic? How do you generate those leads?
so we have a lot of organic. I did no advertising for years up until I think the spring of 2022, right around this time of the year in 2022, I finally
Yeah.
started doing paid ads. And so, but there's a lot of organics. We're right on a busy highway here too. We have a lot of walk-ins, a lot of word of mouth, and obviously, even practically, if it wasn't a moral issue with me, and it is, but even practically, if you make somebody angry, they're going to tell your friends. They're not going to, or they're
Mhm.
not going to come buy another building from you.
Mhm.
We just had it. We
Yeah.
have. Well, we started a barn yesterday for somebody I built for 10 years ago, and we just signed up another one a couple months ago from a gal up in Michigan. They want an addition to the barn we built years ago,
Hmm.
and I just love that, like that they would extend
Yeah.
that kind of trust to me. 10 years, if that
Yeah.
barn's got major defects,
Yeah, they're not
they're
calling you.
gonna
Yeah,
know by now.
that's awesome. Yeah, one time my father had a roof on a house and it was leaking, and he brought the original roofer out there. He's like, "Hey, look, like this thing should not be leaking because we're in construction and we've been doing this for decades now." And my father's built a lot of houses by hand, and the roofer's like, "Yeah, okay, well, here's a quote to redo the roof," and it was just kind of like ridiculous situation. Why would we have you redo the entire roof and like pay you again for it when you did a bad job to start?
Right.
So if someone's coming to you after 10 years, you must have a really great product.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we're real proud of that. And obviously we make mistakes, but we try to correct them, and that helps with customer retention. So
How many jobs do you have in a year? Because if you got your project super is doing 2 to 3 jobs at a time, and I imagine these things take a number of weeks to months to get done, depending on I think permitting, engineering, what have you. In a year period, how many jobs do you reckon you're doing?
well, last year we did 76 projects. So
Yeah, that's great. How between how many supers?
so we had 3 project superintendents during that
Mm-hmm.
time. So
Now they are busy. That is fantastic.
there's a delay in your I didn't understand the question. So
Might have lost you there, Marvin.
your screen was froze. You asked a question, I didn't get it. So
Yeah. So you said you had 3 supers did about 76 jobs last year.
right.
So somewhere in the mid 20s per superintendent.
Right. It depends on the level of talent. So I've got a
Yeah.
guy that's I think he just turned 70, and he's out working the 28, 29-year-old people. And it just depends on your level of talent, your stress level that you can,
Yeah.
your God-given level of stress
Mm-hmm.
capacity. So I would say he probably did split 3 ways. I would have to go back and look, and we have that all documented, but he did most
Yeah.
of it.
Wow.
And then underneath that, so it's like anything else. People have their capacity, and they're paid accordingly. And you
Yeah.
hand them just a little more than you think they can do usually. So
Yeah. That's so cool. That's awesome to have someone with that skill set there. Well, thank you, Marvin. I want to respect your time as the CEO of MilMar. I don't want to take up too much of your time. Do you want to just let everyone listening know one more time where you guys are, what you guys do, and if they're interested in learning more or getting a quote, what they should do?
don't buy a double wide. But anyway, so
Yeah.
no, we're in Northwest Indiana, and we're at Highway 2 here in LaPorte, and we provide barn dominiums, and then we're getting into the light commercial space.
Yeah.
But we do hit all of Ohio, Indiana, the southern part of Michigan, a little bit of the UP, not much. And then eastern Iowa, southern Wisconsin, Midwest region, and that's what we do. So appreciate you, Quinton, for letting me come on and keep my spiel. So
awesome. Yeah, and so it's just milmarbuildings.com. It's where you'll find everything, right? And they can go through and design their own.
www.milmarbuildings.com. Come on, check us out. We'll be happy to help you.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Marvin. Appreciate it.